Okay, hello. I've tried making this video a few times now, but I keep running into problems, so hopefully no problems this time. This is kind of just an unscripted tutorial on how to convert MMD or MikuMikuDance videos, or models rather, to the Second Life skeleton so that you can use them as avatars. Um, this is useful if you have like some kind of character model that you want to have brought into Second Life if you're like doing like a cosplay or something, or if there's a model that you want and you don't want to spend money making it from scratch with Second Life stuff, this can be a lot cheaper. Um, but a lot of the information from this tutorial was not created by me. It was created rather by Zero or TheMightyGinkgo. Um, and she no longer wants anything to do with Second Life. I don't blame her. But I took it upon myself to kind of simplify it, and I wrote it originally on my website as like a written post. But the information there, some of it's a little outdated, and some of it is not necessary. So this is kind of an up-to-date video guide on how to convert, and I'll mention stuff that the written guide might overlook or might not need to be included at all. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to my website. Um, there it is. Go to the home page, go to the Second Life page, and then click on the link that says Converting MMD Models to SL. And this is where you'll see like most of the information. A lot of the tutorial is the same. You're gonna want to use any version of Blender. I mean, I suppose you could use any version from Blender 2.8 to 3.6. Um, but I use Blender 3.4.1. So if you click on this link that says 3.4, some information, go to previous versions, and then download any Blender. Scroll down until you see 3.4, and then whatever 3.4.1 version that applies to your operating system. I'm using Linux, but use Windows, use the Mac version, use whichever one works for you. Once you have that installed, you're also going to need some plugins. Originally, I wrote down that you need Avastar for this tutorial because that's what Zero included. Um, I've tested out this method. You don't need Avastar for this, which is great because then you don't need to spend the money on Avastar or, try and track it down by other means. But mainly, you will need the other two plugins that are included here, and that's going to be Onigiri and Cats. Onigiri is like a really old version of Bento Buddy. It's the one that's going to be helping you um, get everything rigged. And Cats is the tool that allows you to import stuff and convert it. So you will need both of these, so just go to where it says releases, download the zip files that are in the release folder, and when you install them as plugins, you just keep them as zip files. Do not unzip them. The last thing that you're going to need, well, you actually need two more things. The last thing that you need to convert anything is I've included a zip file here that just says MMD to SL. There it is, .zip. This was compiled by me. It's safe. This contains the pose files that you need for Cats and Onigiri to convert the model. They were originally written by Zero. I take no credit for them, but you will need them in order to do this. And of course, the last thing that you're going to need is an MMD model that you can convert. In the written tutorial, I used a model of Sharon from Pokemon. I got it from DeviantArt. Here it is. If you have a DeviantArt account, you just find an MMD model, and you hit download, and it gives you a zip file with all of it. Today we're going to be converting an MMD version of Pyro from Team Fortress 2. It's just what I had on hand, and the TF2 models that I've been using have some features that I want to talk about when we're converting that you might run into when you're doing it. So, next thing to do is boot up Blender, boot up your 3.4.1. It'll tell you the version right up here at the top right. You just want the basic file, delete the things that are in the scene, and you're going to go to Edit and Preferences. Here you're going to go to add-ons, so this add-on tab, and you're going to go to install, and then you're going to navigate to wherever you have your zip files of like your add-ons. I usually keep my add-ons in a specific file just called add-ons, so you can see that I have stuff here. But it can just be in your downloads. Just put them wherever they're not going to be lost. And then once you have something installed, it will show you the names. So here's cats and onigiri. It'll look like this. And you want to make sure they're enabled so that the check mark is there. So just check mark it, and there you go. And once that's set, it should allow you to import stuff. So you go to File, go to Import, and because I just unchecked cats, I have to restart Blender. So give me a sec. Don't save that. You might need to restart Blender as well when you are enabling stuff. But here we are. See, now it shows the stuff that cats enables. So we're going to be importing a PMD or a PMX model. These are MikuMikuDance models. You're going to click on that. You're going to navigate to wherever you have your PMD file. So I have just a folder on my desktop called Pyro. Click on that, and just click the version. Click whatever version you want to import. We only have one for this. The TF2 models also, the only difference between the colors is that they just have a different texture, so the model doesn't matter. So here's Pyro. As you can see, there's a mesh and there's bones. So the first thing that we're going to do is select the bones, and then they'll highlight like this, they'll be orange. Go to this tiny little pop-out menu right here, and as you can see, we see cats and onigiri. You're going to click on onigiri, and it gives you a bunch of drop-down menus. And now you're going to click animation. Under animation, you're going to hit enable posing library. And here, there's a bunch of things, but the first thing you want to click is just the first thing at the top left of that, which is the load library, or load pose library. So hit that, and it will give you the default folder that Onigiri installs that has all of the poses that are .bpl files. These are what is included by default, but as you can see, I've already included the ones that came from the, I don't see it here, the stuff that is from the MMD2SL zip file that I included. So just navigate to wherever those are, whether you're like me and you already dropped them into your Onigiri's data, or if they're in your downloads or somewhere else. There's two BPL files that are included, the SLT pose and the SLT pose alternative. I've converted a lot of models before, and I would recommend the one called alternative has the most luck for me. But it really depends on whichever file you have. Like, sometimes the first one works better, sometimes the second one. So you should just try both. But I'm going to click this one, the alternative one, because it's the one that I've found the most luck when it comes to converting these TF2 models. So once that loads in, you'll see this new little thing pops up, 3BB, etc. And it has this little happy pineapple icon. You're going to click that, and that applies the pose. So as you can see, our model shrunk down a little bit, and the arms kind of went out. However, they did not fully go out into a T-pose. This is something that the tutorial that I did on my website doesn't cover, and I wanted to cover it here because you might run into this, and a while ago I had no idea how to fix this. I just thought it was a dead end. But I'm going to show you how to fix it because it's really, really easy. And it's something that anyone can do. So, what you're going to do is you're going to go up here to where you have your modes, and you're going to go to pose mode. As you can see, everything turned octahedral. And you're going to just want to make this into a T-pose proper. And the best way to do this, and the simplest way when it looks like this, is to just straighten out the arms. So I'm going to click this arm bone. I'm going to hit R, and I'm going to hold down Control and move it up. And that's about 30 degrees up. And once I get it to where I want it, I just click left click. I'm going to do that on the other side now too. So you click the bone, hit R, hold down Control, and push it up 30 degrees. So now it's symmetrical. And I'm also going to do it with the forearm a little bit. So just click the forearm bone, hit R, hit Control. That's about 15 degrees up. And on the other side, click R, Control up, and there you go. That's much more, much closer to a T-pose, like we expected. So now we have this pose, but it won't save unless we apply a few things. So go back to object mode, and now select your mesh. As you select your mesh, the bones won't be highlighted, but the mesh will be. And you go over here to the right, and you click on this little wrench, and that's your modifier properties. You're going to try to apply the modifier that's here, and it's going to tell you that it can't do it because there's shape keys. So it's really easy to fix this. MMD models use shape keys in order to do various animations and things like that, but Second Life models don't use that, they only use bones. So you're going to go down to the inverted green triangle here, that's your object data properties. And you're going to see under the shape keys tab here, there's a downwards arrow. You click that, and you delete all shape keys. So now there's no more shape keys, and you go back to the modifier properties with the wrench, and then you apply this modifier, and it actually works this time. So now what we've done is we've applied the armature modifier, but that doesn't mean that the bones are gone. You click the bones, and you go to pose mode again. Hit A so that you select all the bones. Go to pose, apply, and apply pose as rest pose. So now this T-pose has been applied as the default pose, and if we hadn't applied that modifier to the mesh before, what would have happened is the pose for the skeleton would have been saved as this T-pose, but the mesh would have gone back to the original pose of Pyro with his arms down, and that's not what we want. So go back to object mode. Now that you have that applied, we're just going to reconnect the mesh and the bones the way that we want to. So click the mesh, hold down Shift, and click the bones. And now hit Control P. And then it gives you a bunch of stuff for the parent menu. And you want this one that just says Armature Deform. And now, as you can see, if you click on the mesh again, you can see we had an entirely new modifier that's just like the old one, except the pose has been preserved, which is what we want. So, now that we've done that, we have to do a few more things before we can convert it. You're going to click, you're going to click the bones again, and you're going to go down to this little square menu, the object properties for the bones, and you're going to go to relations, and you're going to get rid of the parent. You're going to hit X. Make sure that you do this to the bones and not to the mesh. Once you do that, scroll up to the transform, which is right above the relations section in the object properties for the bones, and you're going to click this top lock, and you're just going to click it and hold your click down and drag your mouse down. So it unlocks the location, the rotation, and the scale. So now, that means that we can now scale and move around our skeleton, which is what we want. Now under Onigiri, you're going to go to Rig Creation, and you're going to add a safe rig. And as you can see, a little skeleton pops up. This is our default Second Life skeleton, and this is also the default Second Life skeleton's scale. So we want to make Pyro around the same height as that. So select the bones for your model, hit S, and now that we've unlocked the location, rotation, and scale, we're able to scale this model down to around where we want. If your model or your character that you're converting is really short, you can make it a little bit smaller, like this. Or if your character is really tall, make them a little bit taller. But generally speaking, for this method, you want to keep it pretty close to the height and alignment of the default skeleton's bones. So, as you can see, we now have almost everything done. Go back to your scene collection, right-click, and delete Onigiri. You don't need that safe rig anymore. Select your bones again. And then at the very top of the Onigiri pop-out, select Character Converter. And now it has a bunch of buttons. You want to hit the button that says Load Map. And as you can see, it'll open up that data folder that we were in earlier with the BPL files, except now we're looking for the file that is a .onim. So with the files that I included from the MMD to SL zip file, unless your character has like really big boobs, the one that you're going to want to use is the one called MMD alternative map.onim. So you select that and you load the map. And basically what this does is it's basically a glorified TXT file that has a list of directions for Onigiri to know which bones are which. So like if a bone is called like Pyro's red Pyro arm left, it will change it to the name of the skeleton's bones for the SL skeleton's left arm bone, and so on and so on. And this way, it makes it so that the weights are preserved, but the bones are converted to a skeleton that Second Life can read. So once you have that ONIM file loaded with this button, you're going to hit convert. And you give it a second so that it can convert everything, and it looks like it converted just fine. It got rid of some of the bones that were there that Second Life Skeleton doesn't support, but it kept the ones that are there that it does. Something I do before I finish converting is I like to select the bones and go back to pose mode, and I like to just test them out. So like grab a bone and hit R and try and rotate it. Mainly the leg bones are the ones that I recommend you test out if nothing else. As you can see, this is moving just fine. These are moving like how legs move. If you do that, make sure to hit Control Z when you're done so it goes back to the default configuration. But if you have a character that wears like a dress or a really long skirt, sometimes, or like a really long coat, like a trench coat, sometimes this doesn't work that well, so you always want to make sure before you convert your mesh that this is fine. Okay, so now everything should be fine. And what we're going to want to do is select the mesh, and over here under the character converter, hit export mesh for SL/OpenSim. And this also works for OpenSim. I should have said that at the beginning, but I'm not really much of an OpenSim user, so SL is my main purpose, but it works the same. You hit that button, navigate to wherever you can find your file easily. I'm just going to call this Pyro, and it's going to export as a DAE or a collada, and hit that button, and just give it a second for it to export. And it seems like it did it. So now let's go over to Second Life and see if it worked. So here we are in Second Life. I'm going to go to build. I'm going to go to upload. And I'm going to upload my mesh model. I have Premium Plus, so it costs me nothing to upload mesh models or textures. But usually these models cost at most like 16 linden. They're not very expensive, but they do cost a little bit. So I'm going to navigate to my desktop. Sorry, this folder is really tiny, you can't really see. But just locate your file, the .dae. Hit OK. There it is. I don't know why he's so dark, but I guess that's just how he is. You're going to want to make sure that your lowest is set to 0. You're going to want to make sure that your physics are set to cube. And you're going to want to make sure that you're including your joint positions under rigging. And as you can see, it fixed some of the problems and makes them stand like an actual Second Life model. So then you calculate your weights and your phi, and you hit upload. And let's res him and see how it looks. There we go. That looks like him. The mesh is here, the T-pose as we imported it is there. The next thing that you're going to want to do is definitely get your textures. If you're not sure, I would personally recommend going to Blinfong and going to Diffuse and locally importing stuff. If you have Premium Plus, it doesn't really matter because everything's free to upload. But if you don't, definitely use local textures first, just in case any UV maps got messed up. I'm just going to go to bulk, my desktop, and my Pyro folder. You can't really see it that well, but I think he only has like 3 maps, so I'm just going to import those. I'm just going to upload them. I know they're large files, but there's not much texture here. Right click and edit. I want to say Maybe it's more than one face, I don't know. I guess it's just one face. Huh. Well, anyways, I'm just gonna drag the red over. And there he is. That loaded in Pyro, his texture. And I'm also gonna right-click and just name it the way that I've been naming all of the TF2 models. So Pyro TF2 Avatar, and then in parentheses red. I'm also just gonna click and drag while holding Shift another version over, and this is gonna be the one that's called blue. And I'm just gonna go to the textures for that one and drag over the blue texture. And as you can see, they're working. Although I don't know why he's like messing a little bit there. It's weird. Anyways, I'll figure that out at some other point, but usually that should work just fine. And now the last thing to do is you want to test it out. So I'm just gonna go to I have this this silly avatar that's just Homer Simpson. But I'm gonna remove some of the extra stuff, including the Homer model. And I'm gonna right click and then take a copy of the Pyro model. Go to my recents, and then right click and add it. And as you can see, the shape is a little messed up, but that's okay, we can fix it. Someone else imported Pyro at some point, so I'm gonna see how, actually, give me one sec. I have some other ones, so like, I have medics, I imported medic from TF2 a while ago, so there's a shape of medic, it's a little bit different. Maybe we'll like, make the head a little less squashed. If I can do that. I don't know. Anyways, it's not perfect. I never said that this was going to be a perfect way of converting and importing models. However, it gets you there about 90% of the time. And, hopefully this can save you some money or some time and show you how to just convert models in a way that is more intuitive than if you're just following a written tutorial. So, thank you so much for watching.